All right, guys, we've got some absolutely massive RPG and Nintendo Switch news to go over. Trust me, you guys are going to want to stick through all of this. Let's go ahead and jump right into the Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Nintendo has put out a banger new trailer showing off a bunch of new features and details that get me way more excited for the game than I was before. Dungeons, check. Sword, check. New areas, check. Teases, check. All sorts of awesome stuff. So check this out, guys. We're going to go over what's going on, the press release from Nintendo on the new details for The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So the land of Hyrule has been torn apart by mysterious rifts in search of Link and the King of Hyrule, both of whom were stolen away. Princess Zelda must borrow the power of the ethereal creature called Tri. Together, they enter the tears that scar the land in order to save her kingdom. On her journey, Zelda will explore what lies within the rifts. Now, this is all brand new gameplay footage, new trailer that you guys are seeing right here. Navigating the still world, that's what they're calling it. This is the still world. Here, trees, fragments of land, people, and other items that were swallowed up by the rifts float in the void. It's said that they eventually vanish completely. Exploring the furthest reaches of the world is no easy feat. To do so, Zelda will have to traverse eerie floating terrain because the path is broken up. The echoes you've learned can come in handy. Forge your own way forward by creating echoes to use as platforms to bridge the gaps. You've got massive dungeons that can be found deep within the still world. Zelda will use her wisdom and echoes to take on enemies and puzzles that stand in her way. Then confront challenging bosses who await her revival. What to do though? Overwhelm the boss with echoes or combine them to find unique ways around the situation. The strategy is yours to devise. The still world can be accessed through the rifts scattered across Hyrule, and each entry point leads to a location with its own defining features. On her adventure, Zelda must overcome dungeons within the rifts and the mysteries they hold. Without Link or the King, Hyrule's fate rests squarely in Zelda's hands. So let's talk about this sword fighter form that Princess Zelda has. When Zelda finds and picks up a mysterious sword, she takes on the sword fighter form, allowing her to attack directly. With its mighty power, she can forge ahead when her path is blocked, strike down enemies on her own, or battle alongside echoes. However, she can only stay in sword fighter form for a short period of time. When or where you choose to wield its power is up to you. The sword's gods can be replenished by collecting energy found in the still world, so be sure to grab any that you find. I did notice that there is a level 1 by the meter for your sword form, so I do feel that you'll be able to level that up to stay in sword form longer or get new abilities or other possibilities with that. Now, the last part here, inhabitants of Hyrule. This is Dampy, an engineer who crafts clockwork gizmos in Hyrule. His extravagant creations are called automations, and they can be activated by winding them up. They can unleash powerful effects that differentiate them from echoes, but be careful, they'll break apart if they take too much damage. You'll meet many other quirky characters during your travels, and there's no doubt they'll be a great help to the princess. On a journey to traverse and save Hyrule, Princess Zelda's wisdom is key to understanding this adventure. Once again, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is due out on September 26th, and this whole new footage and what they showed off here, this key art and everything, is just awesome. This is exactly what people were wanting from Princess Zelda's adventure. A lot of the issues that maybe some people had with the reveal trailer or some of the other trailers have been addressed here. There's going to be massive dungeons that you can solve with different puzzles and different stuff that you equip with your echoes. There's going to be a sword fighter form, so people complaining that Zelda doesn't have a sword. Well, Princess Zelda now has a sword. So it definitely seems like there's going to be a lot of stuff in this game, and there's probably more that they haven't even shown us. I think that there's a lot of crazy things. And then there was also a tease at the very end of the trailer showing that you actually have a boss fight against Link that's been overtaken, which, by the way, we called. If you come to my live streams, we said, yeah, you're probably gonna have to fight against Link. Maybe something happens. Maybe you can get to use him afterwards. Like, we don't know. But I do think that it's pretty cool when it comes down to all of this. There seems to be a lot with this game, and I'm very excited for The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So what do you guys think about this new information for the game? Let me know in the comment section below. Now let's go ahead and move on to some Black Myth Wukong, more drama with this title, and what is going on with the exclusivity deal or not. So recently, I reported that Black Myth Wukong, at least I was reporting on what somebody else had to say. It was an Insider Gaming, and they had a source, or there was a source that stated that the reason why Black Myth Wukong is not on the Xbox Series X and S right now is because of a memory leak issue. That was one of the things that was reported. But then Paul Tassi came out the other day and stated that Black Myth Wukong isn't on Xbox yet due to an exclusivity deal. So we reported this on Forbes. And then after that, it was disputed that that was even a thing. So check this out. Jeff Grubb stating that no, Sony did not have a marketing deal that kept Black Myth Wukong off of the Xbox platform. There was a misunderstanding around this stuff. I heard Sony only paid to help get the port done. No exclusivity. Nick adds that as well with Jeff Grubb. So then Paul Tassi quote tweets that from Hunter Next Gen Player on Twitter and states that I have a lot of respect for Jeff and Nick. I would not have published without what I consider to be extremely authoritative source. Frustrating to not be able to say more. The situation has been described to me as bizarre, which I can certainly agree with at this point. He follows up by saying, based on what they're saying, it seems possible a temp exclusivity deal was done for paying to get a port done on PS side without paying for a traditional marketing deal. Clearly, marketing is not involved. Specifically told, it's not a tech issue for Xbox causing delay. So I do feel both things can be right here. There could be some type of deal where Sony came in and said, hey, we're paying for this to be working. And then that could have been misconstrued as, oh, well, they're paying for something, so therefore it's off of Xbox. But there could have been something that says, okay, they still had some issues with the Xbox version, and Sony kind of slid in to say, hey, you know what, take care of this first. So maybe it was like an unofficial type of thing. Like, it's crazy at this point with Black Myth Wukong. I don't know what is going on because Paul Tassi obviously is reporting on what he feels is solid. He wouldn't report this if he didn't have a very good source in order for this to happen. And Jeff Grubb wouldn't be reporting unless he had a good source. So this is a bizarre and strange situation that's going on with Black Myth Wukong. And if you look at the PlayStation 5 version of the game, clearly Unreal Engine 5 with the PS5 and how it is right now, like there was issues. So I wouldn't doubt that Sony definitely helped to pay to get things moving, and that might have put the Xbox version, which was probably having maybe even more issues, especially that Series S version, on the back burner, and that could have been misconstrued as a exclusivity deal when there wasn't one there. It was just, hey, we're going to emphasize this because Sony is paying for it. Not that we have to keep it off Xbox, but hey, look, the deadline's coming up. We need to get this game out, and this is the priority for us right now at this point. So I think that might be what's happening here, and that's the situation that is going on. So I'm not exactly sure, but that would be my best guess at this whole kerfuffle that is happening with Black Myth Wukong. But what do you guys think about it? Do you feel that there is some type of exclusivity deal? Do you feel that there isn't? Do you think that there is actually an issue with the Xbox Series S and X version in terms of memory leak or problems with development? You guys can let me know in the comment section below. But now we're going to move on to the final topic, and that is going to be Visions of Mana. What is going down with this game? Shout outs to my man Stealth. He reported, and there's been other people reported as well, stating that Visions of Mana released recently, and there are already reports from Bloomberg that NetEase is shutting down Oka Studios, the team that made the game. Absolutely brutal. He also follows up by saying NetEase has definitely been planning this for a while, regardless of how Visions of Mana was going to sell. Was it a mistake not to include Switch as part of the initial plans for the new Mana game? Maybe, considering how Switch helped Trials of Mana exceed expectations and sell over 1 million units. I assume Visions of Mana would hit Switch too. Now that is definitely in doubt. So this is a very interesting situation that's going on here. Obviously, they planned on shutting this down. This wasn't based off of sales of the game because there's no way they can tell exactly the sales at this point. Now, it could have been based off of really poor pre-orders. I mean, that could have been it because obviously they want you to pre-order. They track pre-orders. It's good to know how much is pre-ordered so they can have a certain amount that they're going to ship out to retailers. Developers absolutely want those pre-order numbers to be beefy. So it could be that the pre-order numbers were so bad that they decided to put this into motion. I don't think that this was something that maybe was planned like super far in advance. I think that something came up with this. Maybe the reception, maybe just what was happening. Once again, pre-order numbers, and they decided that the cost wasn't worth it because they announced this pretty much on the day the game released. It's so brutal to do that. Like, it's messed up, and I don't like it at all. Now, when it comes to the actual sales, like a Switch version or whatever the case is, I mean, yeah, I think that obviously it might have been a mistake. The Mana series has always been associated with Nintendo platforms for the most part. There's been some PlayStation games, there's been some other stuff, but when it comes to the DS, when it comes to the Super Nintendo, obviously the Switch collection of Mana, you know, Trials of Mana, like, it's always been associated with Nintendo platforms, and that's where it's sold best. Having an Xbox, I mean, nobody cares about that on Xbox. PC, yes, it's been on PC before, but nobody cares. I mean, PlayStation and Nintendo are pretty much where most people would probably play Mana, with the majority being on Nintendo platforms. And having a new Mana game when a lot of these people have no history with Mana on those platforms definitely is not necessarily the best strategy. Now, once again, I don't think that played a part into this. It was already planned, but I do feel that they absolutely would have got more pre-orders and the game would have done way better if there was a Switch version. But once again, they weren't planning it for, in terms of the graphics and the capabilities and what they were looking to do for the vision of the series. They really weren't planning it. I think that Switch 2 was absolutely something that they were planning and thinking that, hey, we're going to do it on this system. We can have a nice game to put out there. We can have a game that people will be excited about when it comes to coming to Nintendo fans, and it will run better, obviously, than what it would run on the Nintendo Switch. So I think that was part of it. But one thing that I do know is that this is Square Enix's IP, so NetEase doesn't own it, obviously, and Oka Studios, they don't own it. Square Enix does. So if a port to Switch 2 was going to happen, it wouldn't be because this studio shut down. You don't have to get the studio that originally made the game to port it to a different system, especially if it's coming a year down the line or 2 years down the line. Let me give you an example from Square Enix themselves. Nier Automata, which released in 2017 on the PlayStation 4 by Platinum Games, and 2018 or so on the Xbox platforms, which I don't know who ported it over from Xbox. It might have been Platinum, I'm not really sure. But then later in 2022, it was ported over to the Nintendo Switch, and Platinum Games did not make the port for it. And it was a phenomenal port of the game. That is a very impossible port. Overall, it's much better than what people thought that it could be, considering how it ran on the base PS4. So they got Virtuos to do that, if I'm not correct. So they could absolutely get another team to port over Visions of Mana. If Square Enix truly wanted Visions of Mana on the Nintendo Switch 2, or even the Nintendo Switch, they could absolutely get another team to get that done. So I don't really think it affects necessarily Visions of Mana coming to Switch 2, only if Square Enix felt that that team was actually going to be the ones to do the port to the Switch 2. But obviously things can change. Maybe they might want to change their direction for it. But yeah, very unfortunate that NetEase is letting them all go. This is supposed to be a celebration of their game coming out, and they're finding out that they're going to be shut down overall. So it just sucks overall. But I wanted to give my thoughts on that and the possibility for Switch 2, or what's going on at this point. So what do you guys think about all the different topics that we discussed here? I felt that there was a lot of major RPG news and different things. Obviously, there's still more stuff that we're going to get into. Claire Obscure, I want to talk about that game. Metaphor Refantazio, we need to discuss that. So look out for more awesome Nintendo Switch and RPG news coming up, guys. We're going to have a lot of good stuff. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.